Too many drugs. Listen to me. You don't know me and we'll never meet. I had a problem like you once. I drank and used to party a little too much till it got out of control and almost ruined my life. I realized I needed help to fix my problem before it totally destroyed me. If you've tried to fix your drinking and drug problem and you know you can't do it alone, you need to call the National Treatment Advisors. They'll immerse you into a 30-day program to replace your old habits with new habits and totally change your life. And if you have PPO private health insurance, the entire program may be covered. Fix your problem right now before it gets any worse. Get clean. Call now and learn more. 877-247-1581. 877-247-1581. 877-247-1581.
Out of deck carpet giving you the blues? Tired of your old dingy and broken tile? Let my friends at the Floor Store in Cleveland, Texas give your home the makeover it deserves. This is Old Taco Joe coming to you for the Floor Store. Whether it's carpet, tile, wood flooring, or real wood laminate, the Floor Store can cover all of your flooring needs. Located at 405 West Henderson Street in Cleveland, Texas, owner Brent Harris can help. Shower tile, tub surrounds, even backsplashes. Give them a call today at 817-641-9444. The Floor Store, they got you covered.
At Romika Designs, we're more than just a laser engraving and specialty design company. Much more. I'm Ron Phillips, co-owner of Romika Designs, and if you can dream it, we can probably make it. We can custom laser cut and engrave on nearly all material. Great for one-of-a-kind gifts, home decor, business and specialty items, or personalized and logo designs created just for you or your company. Allow us to become your go-to gift and specialty project partner. Romika Designs can help make your ideas a reality. We're ready to help you design and create that special gift for any occasion or engrave your personal or business logo on just about any product. View our designs at romikadesigns.com or simply email us with your ideas. We specialize in custom design and would be honored to have the opportunity to discuss it with you. Call us at 817-400-4040, email info@romikadesigns.com, or visit us on the web at romikadesigns.com.
When you're hungry for tender brisket or some delicious homemade cobbler, then look no further than Leach Brothers Barbecue, located at 1106 East Henderson, Cleveland, Texas. Leach Brothers has been family-owned and operated since 1950. Take it from me, Taco Joe Orwinski. Todd and his family have been filling my belly breakfast, lunch, and dinner for a long time. Heck, I even have my own booth, open Monday through Saturday, 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. Come see them for dine-in, carry-out, and all your catering needs.
Good morning and welcome to JoCo Vibes. This is a Tuesday morning, correct? The 8th, March 8th. Oh, I sound hot. Do I sound hot to you?
I don't have headphones on.
Oh, sound really loud. Okay, that sounds better. I'm Nona Reed. Tiffany Carlen will be joining us soon. Tiffany Carlen Heard. And Tamara Payne is here.
International Women's Day.
Yes, yes. We are here. Our goal is this month in JoCo Vibes and our business connection is to bring in business women in Johnson County. And I have been working hard to get I've got a list long and I can't wait to get everyone,
great women.
Oh, I do. I reached out to some friends that are more, is that sleet? I'm sorry.
That is sleet.
Yeah,
actually.
We have sleet coming down. Sorry for
welcome to Texas,
squirrel.
Yes.
I've gotten a lot of good names that have never been on the show before and don't even know. One's in Grandview, so I'm so excited. So today we are going to talk about invisible barriers that hold women back at work, and how we usually conform to what they call a conformity bind. And so it was a really good article, And gosh,
Mhm.
so true. So true. So Tamara, wanna
Do I need these?
you don't need them, I
'Cause it
guess. I
it's
mean, Tiffany might say different, but
I can hear you. Okay. All right. So what do you want me to say? All right. Well, let me say this. So I guess intro myself for anybody who's listening that's
yes.
new. I'm Tamara Payne. I am the co-founder and CEO and president of Ensemble Co-working in Fort Worth. We are a collaborative business community and co-working space. We'll be celebrating 6 years on
Woohoo!
April 4th, and we are a woman-owned co-working space. I'm now sole owner in it, but I did have a wonderful female partner in the beginning, and we're still great friends. We are the first woman-owned co-working space in North Texas to have opened 6 years ago. Thankfully,
That's
we are joined by
great.
several counterparts now, which I love. And International Women's Day is really very important to me. And it's something that we have celebrated through Ensemble in my business for the whole six
Yeah, you've
years.
done a couple of
But the
weed
last 3
projects or
years
something.
we've had, for International Women's Day
Yeah.
is one of my signature events. We've done uh, a big event. So this is the first year in 3 years we haven't done an event on IWD. And it was really just honestly a multitude of things that went down. And it crept up on me, and I turned around and I'm like, oh my
Oh
gosh, I
no.
wasn't
Yeah.
prepared for it. And I had a death in the family in January. I had COVID, and that's when all the prep would have happened. It just was a multitude of things. And I sat as a woman normally does and beat myself up
Yes.
and said, oh my gosh, I have to do this. I need to get this together. And then, I had another friend of mine like give me permission to say, it's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay. So what's important is that we continue to talk about what the issues are and what International Women's Day is all about. So before we get into the conformity and some of that, let's just quick talk about International Women's Day
Okay.
as a whole and what it's about. It is there's a website, internationalwomensday.com. And every year they come up with a theme, and there are events going on all across the world
Mhm.
regarding International Women's Day. And really it's a day to celebrate women, but it's also a day to engage in conversations that we sometimes avoid
Mhm.
and are difficult to have,
Right.
right? So it says right on International Women's Day website, imagine a gender equal world, a world free of bias, stereotypes, and discrimination, a world that's diverse, equitable, and inclusive, a world where difference is valued and celebrated, and together we can forge women's equality. So this year's theme is breaking the bias. So every year they have a different theme, and then they ask you to strike that pose. And so breaking the bias this year is the crossed arms. So
Okay.
for those listening and can't see us, it's like an X in front of yourself. And they have selfie cards that you could use that say, I will forge positive visibility of women. I will challenge gender stereotypes, discrimination, and bias. And they have all these kinds of great resources, wonderful sponsors and speakers that would speak for you all from all around the world, that could speak virtually even.
Oh, cool.
Right. So one of the things that we have done is we do a coffee and conversation. And we've had variety of levels. We did virtual, we have had in person. We did a huge in person one right before
No doubt.
So when you talk about, ooh,
I just made a slide. There was no sound on social.
Oh, no, you know.
It's okay. I fixed it.
there was no sound on social.
No,
But we
it was
were-
on the radio.
But it was on the radio.
Yeah.
Okay. So
But I can hear someone talking. Oh, mine
hit
went.
mute. She says that when we start a job, it takes a few months to learn the acceptable behaviors, team norms, and routine practices that the organization values. This process is called socialization, and it continues throughout a person's career, but is especially important to newcomers. So, given that workplace cultures tend to be masculine, it's a lot easier for men to assimilate. Women, on the other hand, must negotiate around masculine workplace norms, which often excludes them. So this woman goes on to say, through her PhD research, she's conducted a multitude of interviews, and here's what she says: men and women consistently said it was someone who works long hours. Oh, sorry. So in every interview, I asked the participants to describe the ideal employee. So they both said, men and women, someone who works long hours, makes the organization a top priority, has a dependent care responsibilities, asks for what they want, competes to get ahead, and is generally extroverted. Most descriptions were the same because employees learn what looks good from the social interactions they engage in at work. So that makes sense to me. Those are all absolute cues and things I would be looking for when I was looking for someone who could move ahead in a business. So what they're saying, what she says then, is that leaders, they don't just manage the organization in many aspects, they are the organization. So they represent the behaviors, norms, and standards that employees are expected to mirror if they want to be included. The leaders do. Okay. Well, if the leaders are primarily men, then what behavior are we expected to duplicate?
Right.
Masculine behavior, right?
Right.
So, because that's the prototype, basically. To be accepted, included, and advanced into leadership positions, we must fit into their concept of what that means. So, basically, that's what conformity is. It's social capital. And as she says, in other words, that means being included and accepted at work. It's social capital gives employees access to social groups, networks, mentors, sponsors, and powerful people, all of which are important to career success. So in order for men and women both to succeed, they have to fit into that social capital norm.
Right. And she talked about it, we all do it not realizing it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even the men don't realize
Yep.
it's a conformity thing either. So you have to be aware.
Yep. That is part of the problem. Are we okay here? I just checking.
Yeah, I just heard something in the background. I just
I
want to say good
know.
morning.
Good morning.
I had to do one
Sister.
of those diversity things this morning. I was mom. So
Yeah.
mom dealing with a boy.
Oh, yeah.
Two boys. So
Uh-huh.
so good morning, everybody.
Two hormonal teenagers.
Yes.
That's mostly what you need to say.
Yep. There you go.
So I'm trying to kind of scroll through because I really want to hit the highlights here, right?
Yeah, where are you at? I got a little lost.
It's
'cause I was
obviously
trying to
more
fix your sound.
difficult. So one of the
Sorry.
things she also talks about is
Okay.
social support it's a significant barrier for white women, but
Right.
it's even more
More
difficult for
difficult.
women of color. So we
Yes.
must always
Yes.
acknowledge that
Okay, so
for sure.
I love that you brought that up because that was one of the key spots that I was reading, and that is while accessing social support presents significant barriers for white women, it's even more difficult for women of color. They don't share gender or racial similarities with white men.
Absolutely.
Say that again. They
Don't.
Black women do not share gender or racial similarities with white men.
Or even social.
Right.
In a lot of
Right.
ways, right? They have their own cultural needs and things that a white man does not understand.
Right. Both sexism and racism limit opportunities for women of color to access informal networks and mentors, which can become a significant source of stress. I think this is why we have more women in networking leadership roles and connector roles like you are, because we understand how to break that barrier. We reach out differently. We communicate differently.
Yeah.
That's just, that is who we are. We do communicate differently. There's been a lot of communication, or I've seen recent things about it. And I think it's even a part of this whole article about whether you should show your emotions, that emotions from a woman is somehow a sign of weakness versus the actual power that you're actually capable of showing,
Which is really funny.
Right.
I'm sorry, because when I get really, really, really mad, I start crying. And it's not because I'm so upset that I'm not, winning or whatever. It's just the emotions take over and I can't help it. And when you start seeing me cry, I have been hit. I have hit that barrier and I am going to come back fighting harder.
Yeah, but the sad thing is that societal norms is that when we cry, women cry, that we are broken, we need help, we need to be fixed.
Right. Really, that's not the truth.
And more often than not, it is a release for us. Men don't release their emotions very well.
Well, which is why they bottle it up. Crying has scientific proof behind it, and what it does for the body emotionally, mentally, physically, to actually release tears is to actually release the emotion. And so you're getting rid of it. And then, most of the time when someone cries, right, it's crying, it's okay.
You have your composure back and you're ready to battle it. Do what you got to do.
Right.
Fight it.
Release the frustration, release the whatever it is that you're experiencing in that moment. There's nothing wrong with it. And it is not a sign of weakness. And actually a really strong man will stand up and actually say that. And I've heard men say that because I've heard good coaches say that it is not a sign of weakness to cry.
Right. However, but even those guys, if they were to cry in front of you, they still carry with them unconscious, subconscious bias.
Sure.
Towards women.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry, but they do.
Yeah.
I've shown emotion to a few men around me, and it's come back to bite me later on. In I don't think they really even know they're saying the things they're saying, but in the sense of, hey, don't get emotional when you do that. Make sure you don't get emotional when you talk to them. Right. So I could call someone on the phone and express and vent out frustration about something and be pissed off and livid and just, and or cry. And then the assumption is that that's how I'm going to move forward to dealing with the person that I need to deal with, or in that situation when I was just venting and or trying to discuss this, but I felt my emotions are I'm not going to hide my emotions. Right. And a lot of men, they just very stoic and they don't show any emotion whatsoever till they really get pissed off.
Well,
then when they get pissed off and assert themselves, it's totally okay.
Right. So let's break that down for a minute and talk about the generational stuff that comes with that, because when you're looking at different age groups of men, different statuses of men who someone taught them that they had to be that way.
Right.
You're not born that way. Men, boys and girls are both born crying.
Yep.
We all cry. We cry, throw temper tantrums. My boys throw more temper tantrums than my daughter ever did. Ever. And again, it's not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of frustration. So you're born crying just like girls. There's nothing different about it. Absolutely nothing different about it, except that they were taught
buck up, brother.
Buck up, throw some dirt on it, get back out on the field and go. Now, when I was coaching softball, I would teach my girls the same thing. All right, you good? Cry out. You know how many boys I've seen cry on the baseball
I've
field?
seen it when I've gone to his games.
I mean, not just my boys, but all of them.
Yes.
All of them. They've all cried on
Oh,
the baseball
yes.
field. It's frustration. Let them cry.
Yeah.
And
It's
then you
okay.
usually hear the male
Yeah.
go, quit crying.
But well, I thought where you were going with generational also.
Oh, I'm not done with it. Yeah, go ahead.
Is as I've gotten older. So it's funny that I probably didn't think a lot about this in my 20s and 30s. 40s, it became more apparent to me, late 40s, now where I'm at at 51. I definitely see in the boomer age and the close to boomers. So I forget what falls after boomers, but I definitely see a lot of subconscious
It's Gen X.
It's subconscious bias. I
Mhm.
see a lot of it. And because those tend to be the men I'm in the room with that are maybe 10 to 12 years
Mhm.
older than me, that there's a subconscious bias, and even some that are my peers, my age, right? That there is just this, let me help you with this, honey. Let me show
Right.
you how to do this. Let me give you some advice on how to talk to so-and-so. And they would never do that to a male counterpart, ever.
Well, I think sometimes men have to step back too and look at the women who raised them. Who taught you to be the strong man that you are today? It was a woman.
Your strong
Yeah,
strong
your
mom.
It was your mother who taught you to be that way. And you respected her for that. You respected her in that moment. We hope that you respected your mom in that role in that moment. And that's how you should be looking at your counterparts as well, in that same respect. Have you ever sat back, men, and ever thought, how would my mom want me to treat this woman right now? And that's one way to look at it. Now, some generations of the past may look at it completely different, because there still are some very old school men and women in this world who believe that women still belong in the kitchen barefoot and pregnant. But that's just not the reality of life. And it's certainly not what God intended for us either. Everybody has a purpose in life. And it's part of, we have more women entrepreneurs in the world
Yeah, we do.
right now than men.
Absolutely.
So, so proud of all of these women who've stepped up to follow their dream, fix a problem, and build a business out of it and follow their passion.
Yeah, I talked about this a little bit in council last night, and I don't know if I shut it down, but I'll find it here in a second. So on Women's History Month 2022 on the sba.gov, I was talking about how women-owned businesses propel our economy forward. In the past 5 years, total employment by women-owned businesses rose 8%. Employment. So that means we are employing more people than 1.8% of all. It's only 1.8 for all other businesses. 5.4 million firms are majority owned by women of color.
Wow. That's amazing.
I know.
Congratulations.
Yeah. In 2020, women-owned businesses executed 344,000 contracts across the U.S. with 4,591 contracts specifically providing critical COVID-19 support. And in 2021, 1.1 million of all businesses were owned by women.
Wow.
Right.
Amazing.
Yep.
Super amazing. And when you think back to when Susan B. Anthony was a political activist and an advocate for women's rights, right after the Civil War, she fought for the 14th Amendment that was meant to grant all naturalized and native-born Americans citizenship in the hope that it would include suffrage rights. This is where the history of International Women's Day began. When you look back at that and what was going on during that time, women couldn't vote. We couldn't own a business. You couldn't own your own property. You couldn't do anything.
You basically were owned.
You could,
right.
Can own your own property that was family down.
Well,
I mean, your husband had to.
Your husband had to own
right.
it. And when your husband passed away,
it went to the son.
It went to the son. And if you didn't have a son, then you had a guardian.
Yep.
Which was either a lawyer or they married you off to someone, married you off to someone else in the family.
Weren't capable of taking care of ourselves.
That's
so
right.
I can assure you I'm not capable of feeding myself. My husband does most of the cooking. However, I know if I had to, I would do it. Yes.
Get a Twinkie out of there.
We'll
find a way to eat.
In the early, I want to read something about this day too. In the early 1900s, women were experiencing pay inequality, a lack of voting rights, and they were being overworked. In response to all of this, 15,000 women marched through New York City in 1908 to demand their rights. In 1909, the first National Women's Day was observed in accordance with a declaration by the Socialist Party of America. This was celebrated on the last Sunday of February until 1913.
Cool.
So
Very,
15,000
cool.
women started this, and we're so proud of them.
Well, so as we go, I want to go back to the TED.com thing real quick. So
Mhm.
here's another thing she says. Women have a very narrow range of behaviors they engage in at work if they want to be accepted and succeed. That's conformity. That goes
Yes.
back to don't cry, don't be too assertive, wait for your turn to speak, don't push in, that kind of thing. It's not enough for women to be good at their job. Women need to display their competence and leadership capability in a way that conforms to gender stereotypes. This means doing your job well while ensuring you are coming across with a warm, friendly, kind, modest, sympathetic, and pleasant demeanor.
You should have on pearls and an apron around your waist. How may I serve you while also serving you? And make for less money.
So women navigate a very narrow path at work by being assertive but pleasant, outspoken but warm, and successful but not self-promoting. And I'm terrible at being the assertive but pleasant, outspoken but warm, and quite frankly, I'm terrible at self-promoting. But I sit in a room with men who are frequently
Boastful.
and they have less experience than I do.
Right. But that's a lack of insecurity. That is a lack of insecurity. And that goes for women too.
A lack of security, you mean?
A lack of security. Sorry.
But
in men and women, because there's women who they'll do the same thing. They are really good at what they're doing,
Mhm.
but yet what you see them putting out there is a constant promotion of their insecurity. And it's the same thing with men in this situation too. If you have to be so boastful about how great you are at doing something, then what you're doing isn't just showing how great you are at something. If you have to boast about it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I was going to really hit on the fact that women are just we are less boastful as a whole.
Yes.
I sometimes
Most.
don't know if
Most
it goes
are.
most, not all, right. I think that there needs to find a balance between being overly boastful and not at all. And I don't know. I might disagree with you a little bit on men and security.
My
and being
sister disagrees
boastful.
with me?
Yes.
All right. Well, hang on.
not
We're
the
going
same person. Wait,
we're going to duke this out on the break. We'll be right back.
Abnormal realities.
I love my mom.
Yep. She sent me a message.
My mom did?
Yeah, Wednesday night. And she invited me over tomorrow night to watch Titanic and share a bowl of popcorn. And I accepted.
You did?
Yep.
That'd be fun.
And she calls it Chaps Only Night. Every Saturday night.
Look.
Miss Dixie,
Look,
how you doing? He said, it's my mom, bro. All right, it's my mom.
I want to hear the answer to the Titanic and popcorn. Go ahead, Mom. What's up?
Oh!
Hi, boys.
Hi,
I
Mom.
just wanted to ask Rocky if he wanted butter on that popcorn or not.
I would rather have the butter somewhere else, but if popcorn's the only place I can have it, I'll take it.
Jeez,
hey,
dude.
nobody says I can't roll around in it for a little bit.
All right, Mom.
That is my
Love you.
girl. I love you,
Mom.
Dixie.
Abnormal realities
My mom. Love you.
Dixie.
I love you too.
with Ron and Rocky. Weekdays, 4 p.m. and 10 p.m. on JoCo Community Radio.
Holy crap.
Hey, there's something you forgot to do. It sure is hot. Are you sweating like a dog? Wait, what? Dogs don't sweat. Oh no, you forgot to get your window tinted. Whether it's the kitchen window that sits in the sun for the hottest part of the day, or you just got new wheels, call Sharp Window Tinting in Burleson. 817-615-9379, or look them up on the web, sharpwindowtint.com.
Fast Track Student Loans can get your student loans out of default, stop any wage garnishments, stop collection calls, and stop seizure of your tax refund. Give yourself a break. Stop the stress and get your student loan payments down to as little as $25 a month based on what you can afford to pay. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395.
JoCo Community Radio is proud to be the voice of Johnson County, Texas, and is live 365 on the TuneIn Radio Network. To listen, go to tuneinjoco.com and download the free app. All of our shows can also be found on any of your favorite podcast platforms, such as Spotify, iTunes, Amazon, and Spreaker. Check out our lineup and more on jococommunityradio.com. Thanks for tuning in. This episode and more is brought to you by Patriot Claims, making your insurance work for you. Reach out to your Texas sales rep, Nona Reed, at 844-TEX-HELL at 844-839-4245.
Is that
Calm,
hell or
Juan.
hail?
Calm myself.
It's hail.
Hell.
But she says
Hail. Text hail. We in Texas. I think it's hail. H-A-I-I. Hail.
Hail.
I said this to her
She-
last week. I was like,
it's my accent.
this
Sorry,
doesn't
guys.
sound good. You're gonna have to spell
Text
it.
hail.
Hail, as in hail damage. Listen, storms happen.
Hail.
Storms are happening right now. And by the way, can everybody say a prayer for everyone in the Winterset area of
Yes.
Iowa from what happened the
Yeah,
other day? Thank you to Donica Barnes on Stay Wild Adventures from the Road, who talked all about the tornado yesterday. And
Mhm.
so blessings to all of them. That's one of my favorite areas that I've ever RV'd to and spent the night. It is a beautiful area of the country. Also the birthplace of John Wayne. And there's a very cool and the home of many historical cover bridges. So
Very cool.
just prayers to all of them. But if you've got a claim from the damage, you've got to have someone help you advocate to make sure your insurance company pays you the proper amount of your claim, the full amount, because they don't like to pay it. That's why you have to reach out
If you're
to
in
Nona
hail,
Reed,
hell,
your local
call
Texas.
Nona
Reed. Anyway, welcome back to the second
Sorry.
half of JoCo Vibes here on JoCo Community Radio. I'm Tiffany Carlen with Nona Reed, and joining the table, Tamara Payne, entrepreneur, owner of Ensemble Co-working,
Pain-Free
Consulting, City Councilwoman here
Adjunct
in
professor.
Burleson, adjunct professor, and my sister. So we duked it out on the break because she wasn't agreeing with me. We thumb wrestled,
And I won. No.
Yeah, you won. Yeah, because God forbid anyone think that two sisters would actually agree
on everything.
on everything. Is and
Well,
let me
so
tell you, we don't.
So here's what I was thinking. You know, we talk about why men are more boastful, and Tiff said, you know, I think it comes from a state of insecurity, and I think that's a potential, but I also mostly believe that it's more how men want to be the big guy in the room.
Agree.
So they typically, that's what I've witnessed. So I do sit back and watch a lot when I'm in a room full of men, and I wait sometimes for my opportunity to speak, but I watch how they try to jockey for position. And that's sometimes why they are like that in certain environments. Now, some are just more boastful. I know women who are as well. And I'm getting better at talking about what it is that I'm great at. But I will, you know, I've said this before when I ran my campaign, one of the hardest things to do is to have to talk about myself because I'm so used to lifting everybody else up. So it taught me that it's okay to say, hey, I'm great at this.
And well, I think that's a barrier for women as a whole because women have attacked each other for that.
Oh, absolutely.
To actually say that you're good at something or great at something.
And then everybody goes, oh, who does she think she is?
Right.
Well, why is it okay for a man to say that?
Not all women will say that.
Right.
Insecure women will say that.
Well,
women who are
women
not
who are dealing with their own
their own issues.
Let's say
Right.
that. We can't
Okay, sure.
necessarily identify exactly what it is, but let's just say their own issues.
Sure. It's
Okay.
usually in that realm, but whatever. Do you feel that you've had that same experience with men in a one-on-one scenario versus a group setting? Have you experienced something different?
Yeah, so for sure that when I'm one-on-one with some men, I get I probably kind of get like the daddy slash husband vibe sometimes. Like, let me show you how to do this. Let me teach you, because they want to be helpful, not because they think I'm less than, but probably because they don't. It's a nature thing for them.
Right.
And I find it that if they were in that same situation with a male counterpart, they would never do that. And I don't want to be assertive and problematic, so I don't say anything. But I've had a month of hell with this, to be honest with you, where I've had one situation after another, and I've just frustrated right now. I'm so frustrated with how I'm being treated in these situations.
Can you explain what you mean, though, by being assertive and problematic? Because that's not your vision of how you would be if you were to react, have a conversation with that person, that man in that moment, to say, stop. I really appreciate it, but that's not what I need from you. Or to I don't want to say argue, because it's not really arguing.
But that's the problem. For a woman, that's how it's perceived.
It becomes
and so we talk about this conformity thing. That's exactly what I'm doing. I'm conforming to the perception that when a woman pushes back, she's being argumentative.
Right.
But I wouldn't have to push back if you weren't talking to me like this. You would never talk to one of my counterparts like that.
Male counterparts.
A male counterpart.
Right.
Never.
It's a really good point. It is a really good point. I mean, I think this isn't just in the business realm or the political realm or out in the community. This happens in our homes too.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, lots of women out there experience these things with their spouses as well, that it becomes argumentative instead of just sitting back, the man sitting back and going, you have a brain. I should listen to you once in a while.
Well, I think what I overall would like,
it's not all men, by the way.
Away, right. What I would like men to take away from this is to understand that there are different perceptions of how things should be handled. There are different approaches to how things should be handled. And your approach and my approach may be different, but we're trying to get to the same thing. Maybe it doesn't always happen the way you thought it should happen, but it will get there. And there's nothing wrong with my approach in the sense of how I talked about it, or, I'm not, but to be kind of prepped on things in a way of like, hey, this is how I would handle this, going into this meeting. It's belittling.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be honest with you.
Yes.
I don't know. I'm struggling to find the right words, but I've been really frustrated with this. Like, to the point where I called Tiff the other day and I was just like, I got to talk to you about all. I haven't talked to anybody about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just, I think it's makes it hard. And I just want to tell everybody, it's not in any one particular path in my world right now. Right. This is why it came to a head, because it's hitting me in every sector of my life. So I want everyone to go, oh, this is politics, or, oh, this is school, or, oh, this is work or home. It's every part of my life right now that I've had a couple, these things happen that have just piled on. And I've said to myself, wow, first response, what's wrong with me? What do I need to change?
Which is the typical thing that conformity and what some men are expecting. Men who want to be your daddy versus or your teacher versus your equal, and someone who respects you for your capabilities
and my differences.
Yes.
Let me say that.
Right.
That is the biggest thing, is my differences. I was interviewed from the Star Telegram for a story the other day, and I was referred by a friend of mine, a guy friend of mine, and I know that he was interviewed and I was interviewed, and I think we both approached it a little bit differently. We talked about it afterwards, but he also works for a corporate company and I don't. I have a little more flexibility to say things I need to say
Mhm.
or need to be said because I don't have fear of losing my job. But there was a different approach, but ultimately we came to the same conclusion. But that doesn't make one right and the other wrong. It just so I want to again, I don't want to discount what you're saying, but I don't want to. I said the husband and daddy thing, and I want to pull away from that for just a second. I think that goes back to the men wanting and needing to. They want to be the caretakers of that's who they are, right? It's funny. Women are nurturing,
Right.
but men want. There's this just subconscious that their job and role is to take care of the women around them. And so that also flows into more one-on-one, by the way, not in a group situation. However, I have been spoken to in a group situation that was condescending and dismissive in front of all the men in the room. And like what I had to say was not as important as someone else.
But do you feel that was in that particular moment? And I don't know what moment you're speaking of per se, but do you feel like in that moment that the man in the room who was dismissing you and dismissing your opinion and your value, that it's because you weren't in agreement with what they wanted?
Yeah. Oh, I would for sure say that because that is one thing about women, I would say, is that we are going to probably speak up and share because we have this ability to see things very, very differently than men and go into a lot of detail in a lot of
Right.
cases. And to point out just the little bitty things like that, hey, that actually, and sometimes men want to move right through something. They don't want to deal with that. It's easier just to move through it, let it go. It's not that big of a deal. But it is that big of a deal all the time, whatever it is, because that one thing that maybe you don't address trickles on to something else and
Right.
something else and something else, right? So yeah, there's definitely a little bit of if I express, I don't want to say disagreement, but maybe just like, hey, an alternative. Have you thought about this? Have you thought about this? Because that's how my mind thinks too. I'm a
Right.
critical thinker in the sense of, hey, I'm always thinking through the steps and alternatives and solutions, trying to find solutions to things. So I can say that for sure comes up. And to go, the TED article says women who succeed in workplaces are often required to deny their gender because of all the ways it makes them different. So that's exactly what we're saying, and I would say more so, when you're in a room full of men and you are the only woman
Right.
and those differences in how you handle things come out, that puts everyone else off,
Mhm.
Mm.
and go ahead.
No, go ahead. I
And
wanted to,
again, I want to say, I want to say to everyone listening and the men listening and women, it's more often than not subconscious.
yeah, definitely.
It's not. Now, there is the overtly jerky guys. We all know who they are. They make themselves very clear when they're in the room. The other stuff is a lot of times very subconscious.
Right.
But that's part of what maybe that we can get to towards the end here, which is how then do they become more aware of this and so that we can change this.
Right. I do want to touch on what you just said though, and go a little further into what this article says from TEDx. As psychologist Paula Nicholson has found in her research, which she shares in her book Gender, Power, and Organizations, the ideal successful professional woman is single-minded, tough, autonomous, and willing to distance herself from traditional femininity and domestic duties. But when women deny aspects of their identity, they also deny experiences of inequality, which makes it impossible to tackle them. So it's a twofold thing. You've got to be able to, and again, that's what this whole article is being tough but able to cry.
Yeah.
Being assertive but sweet. And so it's a very fine line.
Oh, so
for
I
women.
come across more often than not too assertive when I'm trying to assert my strong belief in something. I see it on council. I've looked at myself afterwards. I've analyzed it, and even right after I go, oh man, I didn't mean it to come across that strong. But again, I've sat next to people who've come across that strong and everyone's like perfectly fine. But when I do, I get beat up online and I get pushback, and I feel a change even in the dais around me when that happens.
You know, which I find really interesting, because a lot of the pushback that you do get is not on social media, is not from men.
Oh,
It's from women.
I know, but that's
Well, and I say that I say that because, again, it just goes to show that you still have women of a certain mindset too that will not allow women, even though they are in a group that pushes for women's rights, that when they see this in another woman, if it's someone that they don't agree with, they will pounce
Yeah.
on that same thing that they're standing and pushing for.
Yep.
And it's wrong. It's wrong.
Yep.
Either you're for it or you're against it. If you don't like someone, that's fine. Just say you don't like them. But don't down them for being assertive and speaking up and standing up for what they believe in, or what they're believing in for other people, and being a voice for other people.
Sure. And I mean that goes back to, so when you think about politics in relation to the workplace, is we don't always like our bosses, we don't always like our counterparts, right?
Right.
But if they're
Right.
really good at what they do and they've helped me get ahead, then I'm sticking with them. So it's the same thing. Like, I do my job well on council, and I don't mean this isn't about council. Just again, I want to make sure everybody knows that this isn't about council,
It's
but
everyday life.
But yeah, this is every day. This is the
Mhm.
life I walk as I dabble across multiple things.
We got 10 minutes, and I want to talk about this this one girl, Emma, very quickly,
Okay.
before we move into how do we fix
this?
how do
Yeah.
we fix how do we break the barrier. Emma, she started out, she was desperate to fit in. She was working in a mine, and in the energy and resource sector as an engineer, the only female
Sure.
in this company,
Yeah, there's
working
not a
in a
lot of-
mine.
Yeah.
So there was no bathrooms for the women because it was all men. She worked with all men. So she had to share a portable bathroom. So she was desperate to fit in, of course, and to be treated like an equal. She began to act like one of the guys by laughing at sexist jokes, making derogatory comments, and even mocking herself for being a woman working in a man's world. Within a year, Emma had transformed. She talked, acted, and even dressed like the men she worked with. But none of this worked. Emma would always be treated differently because she was different. Only her work environment had made her believe that this difference was a bad thing. By trying to fit in to survive at work, Emma had lost her own
Herself.
identity.
Mhm.
Trying to pretend to be someone else is an exhausting and demoralizing process.
That's huge.
That is huge. You lose
Yes.
yourself. So when she,
That's why I think this last month has been difficult for me. It's felt like, oh my God, you start questioning, who are
Mhm.
you?
Right.
Who am I? Have I mean, and I'm 51 years old. I'm not a kid, right?
Right.
You know, you'd think like, hey, I get this. I know who I am. But then these circumstances that you end up in start to alter your view and
Mhm.
mess you up. And I'm strong and I understand myself, but I still get like, ooh, am I putting off the wrong vibe? Is that me? But
no, it's not. We have to look at, and there's too much packed into this part of it to get too much into the spiritual aspect of it and God purpose and that type of thing. But from a faith perspective, if you are in those shoes and you are walking towards your God purpose, this is when the attacks come. I mean, this is when you're doing good.
Yeah.
This is when the attacks come. And so that's part of, what you're going
that's a
through.
strong story. Well,
But she did break through that.
Yeah.
For herself.
And one thing I like about this article too is that she goes into talking about the fixes, because it's great that we talk about this stuff, but to me, solutions and being solution minded is always important. So she says, if men present a barrier to women being accepted at work, men can also remove the barrier. So let's see, what do they say?
They were talking about PlayStation.
And it's a place for all women or all employees to socialize and relax. However, football seemed to be the only video game ever played. Consequently, it was overrun with women who used it to bond with other senior men in the organization. They are also excluded from playing. They also excluded women from playing. So they raised the issue with the most senior male leader, arguing PlayStation had become an informal network that excluded women from an opportunity to engage. So instead of dismissing these complaints, the senior male decided to take it upon himself to solve the issue. Here's what he did. He took 3 specific actions, ones that all men can do to disrupt such practices at work. First, he spent time with the women in his office to analyze the issue. He wanted to educate himself, understand how the informal social practice excluded them. Second, he raised the issue with the men in the office, despite significant pushback.
Mhm.
The senior leader took time to share women's accounts of how this social practice excluded them and the impact this was having, and invited women to share their experiences and supported them when they did. So that's huge from a leader, a male leader.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
So this built the men's awareness and ownership of the problem. Awareness. That's what we're talking about right now. It's like, how I'm still not sure on a one-on-one basis, how do I then bring this awareness about to this situation with these gentlemen?
Mhm.
Right? So I don't know. So the aim was not to remove the PlayStation or the game, but to provide women with the opportunity to play and give them access to the same informal and social opportunities the men had. So leaders identified an activity the whole team could undertake to ensure everyone interacted more. These leaders doubled down on their investment to level the playing field by spending time and effort to engage the women on their teams. This is something we can all do. Now, that's just one, simple fix, by the way. She's got a TED Talk, Michelle P. King. It's called It's Not You, It's Your Workplace. That's super wonderful and helpful. Probably watch that. So
I'm going to put the link into the comments
So
if you're watching
let's-
on social.
So let's look at this for a second, right? That was great that she had a leader that could lead that way, and it was a male. Because without the male leading that, by the way, if a female leader had led that, how do you think that would have landed?
It'd have been pushback from the guys.
Harder
Oh, yeah.
pushback.
Excuse me.
right?
Definitely.
So
They
How-
most likely would have gone above her even to say, look,
Right.
there's some crazy stuff going on
Uh-huh.
from this female
Yes.
leader.
Uh-huh.
This needs to stop.
uh-huh.
Mhm.
So
it-
how then, when you're in a situation in a workplace where you don't have a male leader that is like that, or you have a female leader who is, but that's going to create more, what are the options? And then so let's flip it around. When you look at someone in my situation where mostly everything's one-on-one and or in organizational groups that
Mhm.
are not an employee environment.
Hmm.
Say that again. Okay.
I know,
No,
it's a-
I got
I got
a
it,
piece
but
of paper.
I'm
and
not
write that down.
sure.
It's a twofold question.
Yeah,
Well,
I'm
so
not
let's just look
sure
at let's
the
just
answer.
deal with on a one-on-one basis. How, if you don't feel comfortable talking to this person, right? Like you are fearful, one, I have to overcome that, right? But what's the best way to start the conversation with someone where this has happened multiple times?
Maybe it's a question of digging into what caused them to look at strong women in that way.
You can't do that.
I know
No.
that, but
so you
but,
have to. So Tiff, you've got to go higher level. You gotta,
sure, I know.
I'm not going to turn around and ask a fellow teacher, let's just say, right? Hey, so tell me, why is your perception? I've had
I
one
don't mean it like-
conversation
I
where
don't
I've
mean it
said
like
in the
that.
past, hey, I just want to let you know the way that you talk to me in this environment was uncomfortable for me, and this is how it came across. And I had a great response with this person. I don't know if I feel comfortable going to this person again and saying something. I said something once, and I guess I'm saying as I'm talking to you, I just heard myself in my head.
Right.
They have to keep being reminded of this. It's not
Right.
a one-time thing.
Right.
I have to keep sharing it and teaching. Okay. So sometimes you
again-
just got to talk this out.
Well,
so mother-
sometimes they don't realize again
that they did this.
that they did it again.
And men are also very
Yes.
visual too.
Mhm.
I think back to retro.
Maybe
up
if
a
there's a
sign.
clue,
Maybe
or maybe that's what we should do sitting in the audience.
especially if they say, "Man, I didn't realize I've done that."
yeah.
Maybe then say, "Okay, well then maybe you and I have a clue or a signal that you're maybe making me feel that way."
a safe word.
But even when
Yeah,
you're, I think,
safe word.
I think even one-on-one, I think if I have this conversation more
Right.
frequently than when we're one-on-one, I don't just mean in a group environment, but when we're one-on-one and that happens, I can say, hey, just so you know,
Kinda-
that's
happened
one of those
again. Yeah.
situations. Because I think that they are especially my generation and above, are very unaware of it.
Oh, I agree.
Men are very visual too. And so I go back to thinking about Retrovi and what Retrovi teaches about,
Retrovi is a marriage ministry that
yes, it's absolutely fantastic.
through the Catholic Church, but it's not based on Catholicism, just for everyone to know, because it's a great program.
And
I went through it.
And it teaches, and these are the things that I remember you telling me about that you learned, because it's very powerful no matter who you're communicating with. Communication is key. You have to keep telling. Sometimes you need to. Sometimes you need to write it.
Wah, wah. Okay.
As some teachers. Okay, that's where I was going.
Yeah.
So sometimes you have to write it down
At
for a
least
man.
3 times. Repeat.
Send a text, even to say, just a reminder. I really appreciate all of your and value all of your input, but I'm a very intelligent, strong, smart woman. Sometimes that eludes as emotion. But that's not what's leading me is my emotions. But it's a part of my decision making, and it should be a part of our decision making.
Everyone's decision making.
Right. It should
Men
be
too, by
absolutely.
the way. Yeah,
it should be. Well, we've got a minute and a half. These are all great tools. I want to bring up just 2 women who went through this exact thing and are on the other side of it. Little League trailblazer Maria Pepe looks back on landmark case. She was on 1972. She was 11 years old. She got onto a Little League team as a girl. Well, in the 1950s, Little League had banned girls from playing. Well, someone got abreast that there was a girl playing. Next thing you know, the coach is coming knocking on her door saying, "I need the uniform back. You can't play." And they let her keep the hat, which is now in the Baseball Hall of Fame. They went on to sue the Little League and won. And today that has opened the door for thousands of girls to
We had a girl
to
on
play
our baseball team, and she was awesome. She was probably better than half the boys.
Max was played against a girl yesterday. She's fantastic. We've been playing against her for 3 years. Billie J. Farrell, first woman to command the USS Constitution. Congratulations. These are absolutely amazing women who have broken glass ceilings, and they haven't stopped. So we tell you to not stop. Keep communicating. Keep watching every day. This entire month. Don't conform. Speak up. Be yourself. Keep your identity. Tamara, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Have an amazing day, guys. We'll see you back here tomorrow morning.
Happy International Women's Day.
Happy International Women's Day.
Women's History Month.
From Burleson to Venus and Grandview to Godley, this is the voice of Johnson County. JoCo Community Radio.
Hey travelers, do you want to save money on your next flight? Then pick up the phone and call. That's right, call, because the best prices are not online. They're with SmartFares. See, SmartFares has special deals with the airlines. When they have unsold seats, they use SmartFares to fill them. So you get airline tickets at ridiculously low prices. Our prices are too low to publish online. With the extra money you'll save, you can book another trip or treat yourself